Chastain has driven himself in.
Wow.
Hail Melon.
Yeah, it was a crazy move. It's very risky. Right? That might be the biggest thing. I didn't think it would work. Physics-wise, I didn't think it would work.
Last time I watched it, it still doesn't look real to me.
It was an amazing video game move. It's something that I think all of us tried when we couldn't get around the racetrack.
They all hate it. Took a lot of guts, a lot of unique thinking.
I was like, oh no, he's not lifting, thinking that he's just gonna drive through me.
They hate talking about it. They hate that I did it. They hate that I did it first. They're never gonna get to live it down. Kick myself to today that I didn't pull that move a year earlier. Props to him for not talking himself out of it and committing to it.
Came on my radio and was like, that was one of the coolest things I think I've ever saw.
I hope we don't go to Martinsville and have 20 of us do it.
It just takes a lot of guts to do it.
I know some of them just don't like it and don't ever want to be. I don't ever want to do it again. I don't ever want to be in that situation again.
Never been done before, will never happen again.
Yes.
And it likely will never happen again because we know NASCAR is saying this is a big no-no, of course, to do that maneuver, deemed very unsafe. But still, one of those moments we will probably remember forever in racing history.
Yeah, I mean, it was one and done either way. Even if people tried it again, I don't know if they could have pulled it off. That, to me, was the coolest thing I've seen in a long time, maybe ever in a race. But we did all try it on PlayStation and Xbox and made it work. So I'm sure all these young kids, William Byron grew up on iRacing, so I'm sure he was going to try it at some point if they'd let him.
I love the Hail Melon. Let it come back. I mean, come on. It's
We're one day in, Regan. Come on.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. In all reality, though, it's not something we need to see happen in every different race. I don't think it could have happened at every racetrack, but for that moment, for
That's
that
a level of
maneuver and that move,
right?
Ross hit the nail on the head right there. He says they hate talking about it. They're mad about it because they didn't do it. I think more importantly, they're all mad they didn't. Kyle Busch even said he's kicking himself because he didn't do it.
Well, I just wonder how confused you were on pit road, because I was confused at home with a TV view of what was happening, and I still couldn't believe it.
I was at home watching that as well, and I remember sitting there, right, and watching the TV, and you see the orange streak go on the background, and you're like, was that Ross's car? What happened? The first thought was he blew a tire, and holy cow, he's got a big problem right there, and then you realize what he did, and very, very cool.
Very cool moment. Here it is, of course, once again, Trackhouse Racing just creating one of the coolest moments in racing history. So Trackhouse, I think, exceeded a lot of expectations last season. So where is the bar now going into a new year?
Well, as always, you raise the bar every time you set it, and so I'm sure they've raised that some. But realistically, it's going to be hard for them to match what they did last year. I mean, they came out strong, even at the Clash with Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain. So this season, I think the thing that has to happen is Justin Marks has to be the glue there. If things aren't going as well as they were, he's got to be in there building culture, helping keep people on the right track, because they were very strong last year.
Right track and Trackhouse. I like what you did there. All right, Regan.
We're rhyming today already. I think the main thing that you said right there, Trevor, that I would key in on is Justin Marks, right? How do you keep from having a letdown? Because you had such a good season. You keep from having a letdown with good leadership. Justin Marks, a great leader. Ty Norris, a great leader. There's a lot of good people in the right positions on all of those race teams right there. Will they do everything that they did last season, this season? Don't know. And it's going to be very difficult to do that again and to back that up with your two-car team. If they don't, how they react to that, that's going to be the key. Do you get into a hole that you can't get out of, or do you rebound and figure out how to get right out of that hole?
The one thing I will say, though, Ross Chastain's last 4 races, all top 4s, that's pretty impressive.
His whole season, very impressive.
So it'll be interesting to see how Trackhouse does in just a few days. Do not miss the